All right, gentlemen, we are back after yet another failed 2-weekly holiday that extended out way past 2 weeks. But welcome back to the pod. How are we? What's been happening?
Good, going well. Well, you two have been very busy. So this delay is firmly on you and Dylan's shoulders.
At least we have an excuse for not
do?
being back to the pod. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Getting the fortnightly schedule back on track.
No, we're back now. We're back.
We
Quite
are
time in
back.
racing. So a busy summer, and now we've hopefully settled down. We can actually
For sure.
do it continually for the next period, every week, hopefully.
Pro-Velo finished. Dylan and I have been gallivanting around the country with Pinnacle, so it's been good fun racing that, and then coaching up at Track Nationals in Brisbane to top off the summer, which has been good.
First one you've done?
First Track Nationals with the junior Vic team. Absolutely loved it, to be honest. It was fun, it was really, really good with a good group up there. And really, really enjoyed it. Got some good results and some big learnings for the juniors up there. So yeah, very much enjoyed it. What about you, Nick? What have you been up to?
I've been Melbourne, so I'm still following Pro-Velo closely with a few people I coach racing, and the international season's kicked off. Flanders last night, boat race. Pretty well, 20th.
Nice.
Busy time. And it'll quieten down domestically now throughout winter. Races will come up fast. There's Masters Nationals, Junior Nationals, and then there's no real quiet time. I guess like as soon as one thing finishes, another thing starts.
Straight back into preparation for the next thing.
Yeah. Local crit season is finished, thank God.
Yeah, Dylan and I were surprised to see. We thought you'd been in a coma since 7 crits in 7 days.
No, I kept racing. I somehow survived the 7 crits in 7 days. I won the last one.
No, we didn't. Did you ask?
No, I just asked.
I thought that was the next obvious question.
No, I didn't ask.
Beat Steve in the sprint. And
insert cricket sound.
I thought it was good. So honestly, thank God that's finished. Because I've raced every week since October, so a few weeks off will be good. And then, into winter and training for Masters Nationals, which will be pretty much full-time training to be competitive at Masters Nationals.
Yeah. It'd be good. I think the course is in Sunshine Coast this year, so I'm sort of contemplating whether I give it a nudge as well, which will be good.
Well, for you, Masters 1.
Yeah.
Masters 1, yeah.
So
that's a soft category Masters 1. Gets harder,
that's the thing. It only gets like 10 entries. So it's I'm not sure if it's worth training a full block for, but we'll see.
Masters 1's a bit of a freebie. It gets harder, and I think it gets harder until Masters 5, and then people just basically start dying off.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more.
But yeah, you should do it.
Yeah,
you should do it.
Look at it.
You can't do it.
No,
you're close to the juniors.
Yeah, I'm going to stick to coaching Masters racing because I'm definitely not ready to race it yet. Still need to age like a fine wine to get to that level. But no, it'd be good. I'm keen. We're happy to be back. We're back on deck with the podcast and Pinnacle work now without traveling around. So I'm keen to continue ripping episodes and actually getting the structure that we promised our loyal fans, which we should segue into, which brings our guest on today, which we should spawn into that seat right there. Hopefully that works.
Oh, it's terrible.
So welcome to What Matters podcast, Alyssa Polites. Actually been hanging out together on the podcast for a while. Alyssa created the infamous title What Matters and is finally, after 6 huge episodes, a long-time listener, first-time guest. So welcome to What Matters.
Thanks, guys.
Bit of an interesting guest as well to have on, both very successful on the road and on the track. So we'll chat about that, but also has spent some time in the WorldTour peloton with Jayco, and now is right for Meridian Blue, Continental squad in Australia, doing some Pro-Velo League and some Europe stuff along with the build for the Commonwealth Games. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And coached by, until very recently, yours truly, Nick Owen.
Very true.
You've got the coach, you've got the athlete.
One of my all-time favourites.
Well, are you allowed to have favourites?
Yeah. I mean, you can say
on air.
On air.
Officially, no.
Yeah.
Everybody has favourites.
Pinnacle's played that a lot safer. So, Alyssa, fresh off Track Nationals in off-season, how's that all going?
Yeah, I'm feeling very zen. It was a well-needed break. It's been pretty on since Maddo Omnium Nat, so yeah, it's nice to recharge the batteries.
Yeah, you've been going a long time, October.
Yeah.
Pretty much foremost since October till now.
Yeah.
That's very, very much due for a break. And the second half of the season will probably be big. Will be bigger.
Yeah. Big.
Com Games, Track Worlds.
Oh, big.
Oh, it's exciting. It's good.
Yeah.
The last Com Games we both went to in London, which you were
dead.
I don't know. Yeah, dead.
Yeah.
You were sick.
I was dead.
You were you were ill and not the best probably week that you've ever had. But this will be completely, you're a different rider now, and this will be hopefully a completely different experience. I think going there the first time in London will at least you'll know what you know now, kind of what it, well, maybe different to London. We were there in London in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was a pretty dreary trip. This will be vastly different, I think. But I think you having gone through that whole experience will do you good for this year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely a lot of resilience, and now I actually know what it's like to go to a games. I was 19 then, and now 23. So
Yeah,
a bit more wiser, hopefully, and a bit more experience.
Yeah.
So why don't we start from sort of early on in your career and run through juniors into when you started getting coached by Nick, and then presumably the best couple of years of your life getting coached by Nick, can only imagine. Up to now, and then we'll go through what you're moving forward after that. But why don't you run us through and the listeners from the start of the episode?
I think juniors, you were a superstar junior track cyclist. You were not pursuing it, weren't you? Did you get the world record, or you were very close?
I was close.
Very close. I'm watching you do it for the pursuit world record under 19. Like super close. Super close.
It was super close. But I never got to go to Junior World, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, I mean, juniors, I only picked up my stride, I guess, I want to say under 17s.
Yeah, I reckon under 17.
Top age 15s. And yeah, under 19s, I pretty much won everything and dominated. And then, obviously we were in COVID, so I missed out on Junior Worlds because of COVID both years. First year I was in year 12, and originally I didn't want to go to Worlds to focus on my studies and finish off year 12 because you can only do that once. And then, first year under 23s was a pretty good year. It's 2022. Did well at Rownats.
Third at Nationals.
Yeah, with the elite women,
Yeah.
which was pretty sick. And then, got a bit of interest on the road and signed with Jayco from that result. And also made my first Commonwealth Games team, which was pretty cool. And and then 2.5 years on from that moment, it was kind of it. And found you again in my life, and you resurrected me from the ashes, and all was good. So
Nick bent down and gave you the hand of God. It's very fitting for Easter.
yeah.
I think so you got signed off your basically got the Nationals result, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you hadn't ridden a lot of road.
No.
Like a little bit with stamina, but you hadn't ridden
Well, I didn't go to Europe.
stacks, had you?
No.
And you hadn't been to Europe.
No.
Well, how did that eventuate? Like, how did they...
I had interest from a few other teams before Jofi came in, and then those teams kind of folded through.
Yeah.
And then I got a manager, and he pretty much gave me the papers straight away. Had a meeting, and they're like, sign.
Because you signed with their World Tour team, they didn't have a dev team back then.
they
So you
didn't
signed with their World Tour team.
Yeah. And I, like, at that point of time, I didn't know what it meant to be, like, to become professional in the road space. I had, like, no idea. But then, when I saw that contract, I was like, oh, so less. So I'm lovely. But
it must have been a real whirlwind to go from living at home here, kicking around in Melbourne, to living in Girona.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Pro.
I moved interstate, which I think definitely helped. And again, I was 19 when I moved out of home and went to Adelaide for the track squad, which I think was a good progression for myself and also my family, because I'm part of a very close-knit family. Making that move to Girona the following year actually wasn't too bad of a progression for all parties involved.
How did you find the transition to going over there and living and racing? You're racing the biggest races in the world in your first year. How did you go with it?
Yeah, I was pretty naive coming into it. Again, I only had a 6-week block before commies, doing KMS racing as an individual with the Aussie girls. And that was my only European experience because, again, didn't do Junior Worlds, no international racing. So I had no idea. And my first race with Jayco was opening weekend. So that was a real baptism of fire.
I bet.
I think, news bladder crashed twice within 10K. Because I just had no idea. And I mean, first year was pretty rocky, and I think I only found my feet really in the latter part of my second year. And it was pretty rough.
So what were your initial thoughts when you did turn pro and move over there? Are you thinking like, just this is so great, I'm really keen to learn, or is it straight into like pressure to perform at that age and that sort of thing? Or were you kind of like easing into it and then just crashing all the time?
Well, yeah, I was crashing all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I think they kind of gave me the role of just like learning and trying to soak up as much as I could. And I had so many like really good role models like Ruby, a lot of the Aussie girls, like the track squad, got G, Alex, Jess Allen was really good for me. And yeah, they completely understood what I was going through and were really patient through it all. And yeah, I think them introducing that Devo squad the following year was, yeah, kind of a bit of a relief and an opportunity for me to find a way to change my perspective on racing again as a racer and kind of practice my leadership skills as well, which I do enjoy. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And for the younger riders listening who do have ambitions of racing in Europe and are currently in Australia, what were the things that you were struggling with in the racing, transitioning from domestic Australian racing and very little European experience straight into on loop and opening weekend and that sort of thing? What were some of the things that were difficult to adjust to, like within the racing itself?
Yeah, I think just keeping concentrated throughout the whole race. I think in domestic racing, you can switch off and be like, okay, la la la, and then switch on again when there's like a key moment in the race. Say there's like a climb or you got a tricky descent or there's some factor in the race which is deciding. And you've only got like a handful of riders that you're looking out for. Whereas in international racing, everyone's really good and yeah, superhuman. So you're just constantly having to, yeah, figure out where you are in the bunch. Oh, there's this like really techie section. I've got to be well positioned. Obviously bunches, you go from having maybe 40 riders max in a women's NRS bunch or Pro Valley bunch to going into a bunch of 150 girls. You're like, what? It's like a massive sea of people and bikes and, you know, people aren't afraid to like throw some elbows too. So yeah, I think getting used to that merciless racing is a big jump as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's definitely a thing that a lot of people struggle with. And it's, yeah, definitely the biggest, other than all of the off the bike stuff of living in Europe and going over as an Australian and traveling and being away from family and stuff, then actually dealing with all that stuff on the bike is pretty common. So then run us through your last sort of 6-12 months at Jayco and how that unfolded and then kind of where you went after that.
Yeah, well, obviously it was contract year for me. So I did have that pressure in the back of my mind that I needed to perform well. And for me, I'm a very selfless person. So to practice selfishness to make myself look good was really impossible for me to exercise. So yeah, I just kind of put myself in the hole of being a really good teammate and proving myself in that way. And yeah, obviously that's not going to reflect good results on paper. So for my manager to try sell me on to other teams, it was really hard. And then obviously the year before that didn't perform well. So yeah, it was a bit of a tricky case, I guess, to sell. And yeah, obviously being an Australian also doesn't help my case. Yeah, I found myself in a bit of a pickle. And yeah, I had plan A was to sign with another team ideally, stay in Europe. Plan B was return to domestic racing and try to get back into, which I'm still trying to, the international scene and get back into that pro peloton. And plan C was probably racket because, yeah, mentally I was in a really fragile state. So, yeah. And then that's where Nick came in and he's like, no, don't give up. We're going to make it back in there. And, yeah, I'm so glad you did.
How close were you to quitting the sport at that point?
Pretty close.
Yeah, I think pretty
Like
close.
you're having conversation with yourself of like,
Yeah.
I think I should stop cycling.
Like, is this worth it? Yeah, I was petrified of the peloton.
Yeah.
And I was just super underconfident. I wasn't a racer.
Yeah.
I completely lost myself. So
Yeah.
yeah.
How long did that go on for at the time?
I'd say like 2.5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like from commies
Yeah.
until it was very.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first discussions we had was about what you should do.
Yeah.
And like it's you can't just be naively saying, "Oh no, don't retire, don't retire." Like at some point, it becomes an option you have to consider. Like
Yeah.
you can't be delusional and just go, "No, I'll never retire. I'm going to keep doing it." Like it's a hard sport to get back into. But I think you made the right decision. Like whether you get back to World Tour or not, I mean, I hope obviously this is good enough too, and I hope you do, and we'll do everything I can to get you back in there. But it's hard. It's hard, you know.
Yeah.
But I think like you've definitely not retiring and continuing on has been the right decision. Like, insanely good 18 months. Like it's ridiculous. If you went through what you've done, you can't even like medaling at the road in the under 23s Cretan road race, 4 gold medals at track nationals, QO and the TDU. Like
Yeah.
there's like basically every race you've almost won or certainly been on the podium. So you've done everything you can to put your name out there, and you just need a team to see what you can offer them, which is huge. And it's also like it's not just your riding ability. Like you bring, I know from Meridian, like a lot of leadership and helping to develop other younger riders. Like there's a lot of other things that you bring rather than just winning every race, winning races.
Yeah. And there's also definitely now this huge contrast from when you were unconfident and not really, as you say, a racer. That's completely opposite now. Probably Nick and I have even had conversations. Well, it's probably too much of a racer at times.
I've turned away.
Taking gaps and
I can't
railing
watch it.
descents that probably shouldn't need to be taken or railed, but
In track racing, I turn. I'll just close my eyes.
Yeah, one or two Madisons spent on the floor, but it's probably worth having that attitude at times for sure. So, no, I think I agree. Dylan and I have probably only known Alyssa the last 18 months or so on the more positive side of that journey, and it's definitely been good to see the other side of it and things going in the more right direction with both Meridian and the track. So, so since that sort of turning point when you started working with Nick, and Nick, we'll get your opinions on this as well. What were the initial sort of plans there looking forward from 18 months ago or so?
Well, I think basically to get back in, get confidence and get back into form, some sort of form on the road or track. There's something, and really just rebuild. Like Alyssa's always been incredibly physically gifted. I mean, you don't get as close as you did to the under 19 Pacific World Record and third at nationals in your first basically race without being incredibly gifted. I mean, you beat Ruby, she got 4 that day, and she was in 4. So I think like just really, like physically getting back to somewhere close to your best, but also like mentally getting you back to believing that you could be as good as you can be. But I think those two things are huge. If you can do that as an athlete, if you've got good physical capacity, you believe that you've got it, then you're going to do well. I think they're the two things that were the main things. And the rest of it we haven't quite done yet. Like the rest of it is like get back into Europe with a good team. The track stuff I think is going very well. Established member of that team at the moment for the next 12 months. So leading into Con Games, you're an established member of that team. So that's not that you haven't been selected yet, but you've done everything you can to get selected. I think the next thing really for you is to get back to Europe, and then it's not job done. It's kind of the start of the new journey. That's the progression for you. And I think then you've got a career that can be as long and enjoyable as you want it to be.
Yes. Do you think it would be possible to do that without having the hardships that you learned the first time? Like if you go back to Europe now, as a person in the bike racer that you are now, do you think you're a lot better? How much better off are you having that early bad experience, do you think, versus say a more streamlined normal pathway? I'll get your opinion on that as well.
Yeah, I think mentally I'm a lot more resilient and thick-skinned now.
Yeah.
So for me to enter back in there, like, be pretty hard to break me down. Yeah, back then, again, I was so young and naive and really green and just trying to absorb as much as I could with, my poor health, I guess, which, just meant that I wasn't as mentally strong. So definitely Alyssa now compared to Alyssa then, I think I'd be a lot more beneficial. Not beneficial. I would thrive a lot better in that peloton now.
Yeah, sure. Sneak?
Yeah, probably two thoughts. So one, yes, I think you will be much more resilient for going through the hardship you've gone through. I don't think you can be very resilient if you haven't gone through hardship. I think you have nothing to, you can pretend you are, but there's not been like,
it's hard to have growth without a little bit of friction.
Well, I think so. There's not many people I know who have had a dream life with no hardships and they're resilient as well. Like they don't really go together.
No.
So yes. Also, I think your early years in cycling could have on reflection, could have been different. One, if you didn't get sick, I think it would have been different. But secondly, I think if you had signed a year later into the dev team, your trajectory would have been different. And it probably would have been better. I mean, you wouldn't have been on the same your first year, but you also wouldn't have had the same pressure and expectations that you have when you get that money. I think if you haven't had, like if you compare like you and Ruby, she didn't turn pro till she was almost out of under 23. It's like she was 2 years later than you. And she'd had racing overseas, 2 more seasons of domestic racing. Like she was ready to go, whereas you went really early, which I mean, everyone's going to sign a contract. If someone offers you a World Tour contract, 100% of people are going to sign it. No one's going to say no.
Yeah.
I'll wait a year because it's better for my development. No one's going to do that. Like, everyone's going to sign it. So you did the right thing by you. But if the dev team was around and you went into that even for a year, you would have, that would have been really good for you. So yeah, I think if you go back now, you'll be a different rider. Like you'll go back strong and tough and fit.
If we just rewind 18 months that you've been working with Alyssa, Nick, so that's more of the sort of storyline and mental side of things. From a physiological preparation point of view, what's it kind of look like? I guess not from start to finish because there's been so much happening, but in terms of balancing the track and the road commitments and then unsure about, what racing Alyssa's going to be doing, when to manage off seasons, periodisation, that sort of thing. How's that looked from a coaching and an athlete's point of view, but how's it looked from kind of your end and what's it felt like on your end?
Well, we've known about the main races, which is the main thing on this. So we've always the last 2 years, tried to have a good summer. Having a good Aussie summer is really important, whether you're a pro or a domestic rider trying to come, or certainly if you're a domestic rider trying to become pro, summer is extremely important.
Yeah.
But I always think, and people have got differing views on this. I appreciate everyone's different view, but I think it's easier to have form and manage the form than to try to build form throughout the season and chase form. And I know there's a few different ideas on that. My experience with it is to come into Aussie summer in reasonably good form and then manage that form throughout the year. And I think you can do that. If you just have to.
Are you saying throughout the Aussie summer or through transitioning into a European summer?
No, both. Well, as a Euro pro, so say Luke or someone like a European pro, I think I always feel more comfortable if they're coming to the Australian summer in good, not the best form, but like good form.
Pretty good, yeah.
100% form, but like not that far off it. Like you come in good form and then manage that form throughout the year.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that we've done with Alyssa the last 2 years is to always make sure that in January you're in good form.
Is that just to be able to manage just the heavy race block that happens when you get to Europe? It's hard to string.
It just gives you more flexibility.
Yeah.
It's easier to modify. I find it easier to modify form if you've got it and try to, because some people use nationals and lots of European pros use nationals in the Aussie summer to build for Europe. And it's been a very successful model. I just feel more comfortable if they're coming in reasonably good form, and then you can have a short break and then rebuild for the European summer. You're only talking about a few percent. You're not.
It's a lot easier to rest and take rest when you need it than it is to try and build form when you're sick or injured.
Well, you don't know. That's the thing. Like you don't know. Like Luke crashed last year, broke his wrist. Like if he wasn't in the form he was in, his season would have been screwed because we would have been. If he was at 80% fitness or dating, whatever, we would have been chasing fitness really, really quick. In the end, what happened is he had 2.5 weeks, basically not riding, but he was already in really good form. So it was fine.
Yeah. It's also from an Australian that is also racing as a European pro. It's actually the only time of year you really get to stay in one place and actually do a training block where you're not racing. So you kind of have to use it for some kind of good preparation because you won't get that time amongst other busy schedules and travel and sickness and racing to actually do that. So I completely agree with that approach.
So that's one part. So one part we've always known about summer. We've always been in good form at summer.
Yeah.
So last year.
And so you've done obviously 2 summers.
Last year in cracking form. Nationals was brilliant. Like apart from the break, won by 25 minutes. You would have been on the podium at the like you would have been right up there.
Yeah.
Well, and you could have been there were a whole lot of people I coach who were just sitting in a bunch, like just twiddling their thumbs. But you could have, that was just the circumstances of the race that led to it. But you still were on the podium for the 23s, and then the QRM at TDU was huge, crazy.
Was that for you like a bit of a comeback moment?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It was the best day of my life.
Yeah. What was talk us through both the racing and the emotions around that?
Well, I think how you got it was so exciting.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We had Timmy Decker's DS.
So you were
which I
riding
think-
for the Australian national team?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was riding for the Australian national team, and we had like a really good vibe of a squad, and it was actually pretty strong. So, well, historically, the national team for TDU, they come into every tour down under being more of the opportunistic team. And yeah, usually you have like some of the other Conti teams like joining us in kind of animating the race early on and getting a head start. And yeah, I mean, that's what we came into stage 1 doing. It was me and Ali kind of tag teaming for taking an attack. And yeah, I mean, that kind of set the tone for the rest of the tour. And then, yeah, match sprint at the end to get the com points and the jersey. And yeah, that was very exciting. It was a cool day.
Do remember screaming at the TV
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
That was a very cool race.
Yeah.
And would have been cool for you as well.
Yeah, I was
seeing
there. I was at
the
the,
process finally paying off after.
just in front of the sprint. I was at the town.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, fantastic. So then, yeah, obviously that was the 2025 summer. And then moving forward from there, what did it
Well, then we went to track nationals, but it was probably a different.
Pro Velo, the first Pro Velo.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, no, you crashed in.
I
else?
sacrificed the essay round.
To do
'cause-
TDU.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I just thought if I do well at TDU in a World Tour bunch, then,
Yep.
that'll be pretty impressive to tick off. And yeah, I'm glad I made that decision. And then went to Cadell's and unfortunately crashed, hit my head, was concussed. And then it's a lot of like on off, like, oh, I'm ready, I'm not ready, I'm ready, not ready. Did Tour of Taz for Pro Velo and did well there actually. And then went back into getting more symptoms for concussion. And then we kind of focused on track in that period, just because that was what I could manage from a concussion perspective. And then, yeah, luckily I recovered in time for Q Tour. And then it was pretty much the same as this year. It was quite a quick turnaround from Q Tour to track nuts. And yeah, I think having that time to really hone in on track sessions and especially the IP was definitely beneficial for me.
It's not something that, as a track rider of your ability, it's not something that you get to do very often, is to
No.
train for nationals.
Yes.
Like you often have to race, the Aussie team race nationals, but it's not an event that like the Australian team put
No.
much weight on. Like they don't care how you go. So it's something you just often just do off
Yeah.
almost no track. Like
Yeah.
a lot of riders will do 1 or 2 sessions or like I've coached some that have done no sessions
Yeah.
and just go and race track. This was really good because we actually, I mean, the concussion wasn't good,
No.
but what it led to, it meant that because you weren't racing
Yeah.
Pro Velo, you could do a really good track block.
Yeah.
And you had a great, like your nationals was crazy. And like, yeah, you almost won every race.
Yeah.
Except, what did you get in the point 7 or 3 points?
Points. No, I was, and then the scratch race was, in the
Yeah.
bunch.
Yeah. No, it was a super nationals 4 goals, like really, really good. And I think it's like a contrast to this year's track nationals where more of a traditional prep, which was not much prep,
No.
but that's kind of just what it is, you know, like
Yeah.
it's nationals. It's not a benchmark event for, I know when you race, you always want to, more especially you want to win every race you race, but it's sometimes your physical capacity doesn't allow you to
Yeah.
race at your absolute best, even though your head wants to do it. You
Yes.
just haven't had that specific training, and you're racing people who have.
Yes.
And you still do well. You're still very consistent,
Yeah.
especially in the mixed team too.
Yeah. Our composite team
Composite team,
that we
so-
actually won and got the record, but not acknowledged.
I acknowledge it.
Yeah, you did
I acknowledge
it.
But yeah, it just shows. Like, I think for people who don't have that insight, like people who just watch some of these races, don't know that people are either prepped for a race or not prepped for a race. And something like track, which is so, like, it's the difference between being good and bad on track is so small because the events are so hard and they're so short. And people are trained to the absolute knowledge of days. It's a bit of a joke. But they're like really, really trained and prepped for those events. Racing against someone like you who you're trying to do, right? Like you finished a road race 2 days before you race track. It's not, you wouldn't do the hardest Pro Velo stage
Yeah.
as part of your taper into a pursuit. Like it's not something you'd ever do. Like, that's the reality for someone like you, is that you're never going to, hopefully, it was also a good thing, you're hopefully never going to be prepping full gas for track nationals.
Yeah. No.
I think the listener would be interested to know, I suppose, the differences a bit more specifically or a bit more granularly between the two? And like, what does a specific track prep actually look like? I think everyone knows what a road prep looks like to a certain extent, but a track, like, what's the difference there?
Well, it's much more polarized, the training. So as you like a road prep, polarized training is a big modern way of training. I think everyone, even a road prep is kind of polarized, but it's certainly less polarized. A track prep is very, especially if you're pursuing, is very polarized. You're either riding very, very easily or really, really hard. There's also like torque differences. So they're riding huge gears. I mean, the gears are, when's you riding pursue?
For the TP, we rode a 115.
Yeah, 115
Yeah,
IP.
that's on the smaller side. IP, I did a 106.
Which will mean nothing if you don't know the track. A 106 is what's a 106? So if you're on a road bike, 52, 54.
Yeah.
It's a big year. It's a big year and you've got to start from a standing start. So like they're
big torque differences versus the road. Yeah.
Huge torque differences. The torque requirements are huge, way more than road.
Yeah.
Like way more. So you would do a big gym block tradition. If you're coming to a race like Com Games or Worlds, or the Olympics, where you really want to be going well, you do a massive gym block, big, strong gym block. Like you, as we mentioned before, you're significantly stronger than
Alyssa can leg press. We found out, but that's okay.
You can leg press 2 of you. Single leg.
Yeah.
I'm so scared.
But then you'd also do a big on bike strength, like really well planned strength block where you start with doing like high torque force development stuff, moving into longer duration strength and endurance stuff. Like it's really, really well mapped out and planned for a big race that you're peaking. And then the race is really, those races you're also riding in a very high cadence, way higher than what you race on the road.
Yeah.
Like you'd be 112 to 115, IP or a TP. Compared to what you ride on the road, it's probably 20 to 25 RPM higher on average. If you ride on the road at 90-ish.
I spin quite a lot, so probably 10 up.
Well, it's high. It's high. And you've got to be able to put really good torque out in a short amount of time. There's a whole lot of idiosyncrasies with track that to do the best you can, you've really got to train them. I think that's they're the main differences. And also the taper is completely different. Like tapering for a road race or a stage race, you're not really tapering. You're just taking the edge off and resting, but you've got to keep the load up, because if you're doing even a 3-day tour, like you can't go into it too fresh. You'll feel amazing for the first 15 minutes and then you'll feel horrendous. So you're not really, I wouldn't say you're really tapering into those races. Whereas for track, you can taper over 7 to 10 days. Like it's more of a traditional taper into a track race or a track meet than it is into a road race where you're racing 3 or 4 3-hour stages that are all pretty hard.
And both the racing and the training is also a lot more of a controlled environment as well. So you can actually hone in on exactly, if the aerodynamics need to be changed, if the gear needs to be changed, you can, the weather's the same, the air pressure, you can model the times a lot more accurately than you can, for example.
Sports scientists dream track.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, not necessarily athlete's dream when they're trying to do both in the same season. But getting back to the sort of training though, since then, so you run through the summer and then, like in terms of a yearly periodization between the 2 summers, what did that look like from the coach's point of view? So from that first sort of TDU summer through track nationals and then the rest of the year racing in Europe, I believe, from memory. And then, when is there time in there to have a break? And what was it like from the athlete's point of view? Because I know you had a pretty busy season last year.
When did you have a break? You had a little break after nationals and then a little break after Europe.
Well, I did that Japanese track cup and then I had a 5-day offie and then went back into training and did some KMS racing by myself last year. Also balancing that with a few little track meets as well, just to get UCI points. So then I could then put myself up for world champs last year. And I didn't have a break until May. And then I did all that prep for Lebanon into track worlds, and then I had an offie for not long because then I had to start prepping for the Aussie summer again this year.
And that was all self-supported, more or less, not self-supported, but more or less not with team in a stable accommodation. I've seen the Excel spreadsheet of you traveling around Europe, and it's the messiest, messiest thing I've ever seen. Talk us through also like the off the bike stuff of dealing with all those logistics after a pretty busy summer.
Well, I think last year mentally I was in a really hungry, locked in state and I just wanted to get after it. And that was in all aspects. So I did full-time study, did 7 out of 8 subjects for the year, which was pretty intense. And also I wanted to put myself up for the road, show my name again. So did some kermesse racing because that's all I could reach out for without a manager. And yeah, and then I also wanted to put my hand up in the track space to make myself an established rider in that squad again, because I was kind of on the outskirts a little bit. So yeah, really tried to prove myself in that squad. So at Track Nationals, I said, this is what I want to do to the Australian coaches. And if you want to support me, you can support me. Otherwise, I'm just going to do it myself. So I went to, I went to Japan. I did Ferenzol in Italy. Even before that, I went to Ghent, Belgian track over meet, which was, a time. That was my first international track experience since 2023. And that was, another baptism of fire, which just made me hungry for the next track meets. And then, I think it worked out pretty well.
A super busy year though. And then Nick, as a coach through all of that, thoughts?
I mean,
apart from loving,
well, I mean, I mean, it's just the reality.
It's the reality.
Like, it's not ideal, is it?
No, it's not ideal, but it's the reality.
Well, you go for a whole year basically without a break. It's not obviously not ideal, but yeah, I think it's the reality of cycling. Sometimes that if you've got mixed goals over two disciplines, and also if you're trying to push into something that you're not already in, you've got to work harder than the people who are already in it.
Yeah, it's
easier to keep your spot than get a spot. Whether it's in pro cycling or into the track team.
Yeah,
it's hard to break into it. It's also hard to keep it, but it's easier to keep it than to get in.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're trying to balance Australia, Europe, track and road, and try and find those opportunities to break into it, then obviously really hard to plan.
Yeah, it's hard. Like it's too much. It's too much. No one's going to look at that plan and go, that's ideal. It's not ideal.
Yeah,
it's the reality. It is what it is.
Yeah,
you just have to manage it the best you can. I think having a few little breaks here and there was good. Like, because I think like physically you can probably get through that load. Okay, I don't think physically you did get through it. Like you got through all that load, no drama. I think mentally is where you need little breaks just to tune off, just to switch off from being an athlete.
Yeah,
especially someone like you're pretty full on with the way you train and prep and
very competitive.
Yeah, like you're on. If you're on, relaxing. No. So I think like having some, even if it's just 2 or 3 day blocks where you can just go, I'm just going to chill. Then you can get through it. Because physically, you got through fine.
Yeah,
it wasn't a physical thing.
Yeah,
it's more like just having little mental breaks where you can recharge and go again.
And then off season at the end of last year, and then straight into prep into 2026. Which, run us through the sort of recent summer up to now. Obviously, just started off season again, but that last little macro cycle.
Summer was similar, a bit more rushed. It wasn't a bit rushed.
It was really
compared to the summer before.
Summer before we had plenty of time, 8, maybe 10 weeks.
Yeah,
summer before, maybe 10 weeks. Yeah. This one was 4 or 5.
Because of track worlds.
Yeah, it just pushes the whole season late. It was late for everyone. I don't know why it was so late for everyone. It was late for basically everyone. She raced in Europe, or Ruby raced the world. But it was late for everyone. It's like 4 or 5 weeks nationals prep, which is summer prep, which is not long enough. Like
China was really late.
Yeah,
season's getting longer.
Yeah, it's not. It's really. This was the first year I felt really, really.
Yeah.
If it was this is not enough. Like if you have like 6 weeks, maybe it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine. But
we spoke about that.
It's not enough.
We spoke about that in one of the early pre-nationals podcasts.
Yeah, about not being able to do enough of the training you should be doing. For racing. Yeah, I think it was the same for you. But your summer was still good.
Yeah,
like you had a good nationals.
Yeah,
I think you raced well all through summer.
Yeah,
and you hit the ground running with Rebello.
Absolutely. Yeah. So run us through. Yeah, we hit nationals, and then a good ride, and then one of I think finishing third in the Pro Velo series overall. Not racing every single round as well, but the rounds that you did race, pretty much not missing the podium. So
basically you missed the podium. Like really good.
And winning the first stage of the year at SA. I remember. Yeah.
Won the TT.
Yeah.
So chat us through Pro Velo this year, coming off nationals, and then up to where we are now.
Yeah, I think in comparison to last year, obviously you had the contract on the line. So a lot of other riders in the peloton's mentality was a lot different in comparison to this year. Yeah, I just felt like not everyone was as hungry and it was a bit weird. So I think I found that advantage coming in and kind of really harnessed that. And I mean, working with a really young team as team captain, team leader, and basically coach on the ground. It was, a lot different perspective. Like last year I had the help with Keely. I was able to bounce with her. Whereas this year, I had like my little young girls and it was just a different vibe. So just trying to figure out each other in that first round was pretty crucial moving into the next rounds. And I think, you can see that progression in our team over that, Pro Valley series, how we progressed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, Dylan and I do a bit of work with Meridian, and you could absolutely see the way that the team kind of stood up and unified and eventually worked really well as a unit toward the end of the season. But thoughts, Dylan?
Yeah, I think the Pro Valley League has almost become the perfect learning ground for young Aussies, because whilst it's really tricky to go back to back to back 6 weekends in a row, you get like this really short window to like learn quickly. And like if you spread that across X amount of months, then all of a sudden it's just not as like intensified and that kind of thing. So you can like really debrief your learnings in the first round or the second round and then like put it into practice like 4 days later. I think definitely our team experienced that. And I think Meridian even more so experienced that really well. It's like a completely different team from what they were at SA Kick It all the way through the Q Tour. Like they grew heaps. So I think it was really good in that perspective. Yeah.
And so then, racing it and I mean, from a coaching point of view, that's actually a pretty easy part of the year because you're pretty much just racing and recovering, making sure that you're hitting each race fresh enough to do well, but not so detrained that you're losing fitness across the 6 weeks.
I think the only difference with Alyssa is that there was always like an eye to track. Like you can't ignore it completely. You're not training for it, but you can't. The in-between training sessions are a bit more track. Like one, you were doing a bit more, you were doing a little bit more track. There was Perth World Cup. Like it's a bit different than what, say, Sophia Salmons, who I coach. Like her prep was quite different to yours in that she's only doing Prodello. Like, that's all she's doing. So every session that she's doing is training to race well at Prodello, whereas yours was race well at Prodello. Also, you need to race well at Perth World Cup, which is a big race. You've also got to race well at reasonably well at track nationals, like amazing, but you can't really complete Spa. And also, you've got to keep building like underlying qualities for track going forward. It's a little bit different, but
so out of that, you might only get a small amount of key sessions between events. So what levers are you focusing on? Like what's the most important things to focus on for your training in those key sessions?
Well, and one is balancing the actual track training. So if Alyssa's with the national team, so Ash and Kudinoff, who's the head women's coach, she runs those sessions. Like I have a lot of input into what they're doing. Like I chat with Ash about where Alyssa's at, but I'm not writing those sessions. So, and also their team, a lot of them are team sessions. So they're team pursuit sessions or Madison sessions. Like they're not sessions where you can do a lot of individual training. It's most of it is team-based stuff. So I think like one is balancing that those sessions are going to happen, and they're, whether I like them or not, they're going to happen. So you've got to balance the rest of the week out of them. You can't go into those sessions. You can't do a session I want to do in the morning and do that in the afternoon, because you have to perform reasonably well in those sessions to get picked for the World Cup or Oshis or whatever. You can't go in there exhausted from a session you've done in the morning. So balancing that is tricky. I think that's probably the trickiest part. It's there's things that I'm in control of in a training program normally, where I have the whole week and I can say, dude, this is what you're doing. Yeah. When you're doing like track preps or other, even like team, if you're with, not that you guys do it, but like if you're with if you go to a team camp or something, or you do recons with a team, like you're not in charge of what they do. So you've got to work the rest of the week into that. Yeah. That becomes a bit trickier. Yeah. When you've got short and longer term goals, I think that's probably the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then from a training prescription through that Pro Velo season through summer, if you're doing that many track sessions, which are generally a fair bit of high intensity, and then also racing Pro Velo, from a prescription point of view, is a lot of that just catching up on, like topping up on that sort of general endurance based stuff.
A lot.
Becoming a lot. And then that 6 weeks becomes quite a polarized thing where you're just doing a lot of easy riding or you're going full gas.
Probably a bit more polarized.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to win Pro Velo and that was your only goal, your prep was probably a bit more polarized than what it would have been if you were, like if you compare yours and Sophia's.
Yeah.
Yours
who
definitely was who won. Yours was more polarized than hers, just for the sake of you've got track ambitions as well, which she doesn't have.
Yeah.
Which is it's a small difference, but it's a meaningful difference in terms of the way that you
definitely
end up riding. Like it's enough of a difference. It's not a completely different program, but it's enough of a difference that it's
It
But
still has
you're right.
physiological relevance. Yeah,
It
absolutely.
will impact the way that you perform.
Absolutely. As an athlete, so that's the coaching point of view. How do you find it as an athlete managing the two? Which is actually one of the questions that we're going to get to in Q&A in a second. But how do you find managing track? If you're doing a track session on the Friday and then Saturday morning you're in another state racing the Pro Velo round, talk us through that.
Yeah, I think from a mentality perspective, working in those different environments is completely different. When I'm in Pro Velo, I'm working with a young team and it's a different vibe. And like the goals and expectations are completely different as to oppose when I'm in the track environment. It's a lot more, I'm not undermining Pro Velo, but when you're in the national squad, it's a lot more high expectations. Everything needs to be perfectly executed. Otherwise, you can basically bin the session. Like every little technique, pacing, everything, your aeropods, like it has to be dialed because that's the confidence you're going to bring into race day. And again, like when you only have so finite sessions before those big events, you really want to nail those sessions. Whereas when you're coming into Pro Velo, for me anyway, my purpose in the team was to bring that leadership quality and show my experience from my prior life into the development squad that we have at Meridian. And again, in comparison to last year Pro Velo, this year there wasn't like a contract on the line, so for me it was just more of an enjoyment perspective. And like I love putting on a number anyway, like I want to win, but there wasn't that pressure in a high performance space, if that makes sense. It was more, showing my qualities to the girls and
Do you think you perform better in the more when you're relaxed, happy, and prioritizing that sort of stuff that you're talking about on the road and like the vibe of it all? Or do you think that high performance switched on environment is actually what you need to perform well? Or do you think it kind of is separate for track and road?
It's a bit separate, I think. I think in the track space, I think I'm definitely it's a lot more of a high pressure, intense environment. So being locked in is a lot different to being locked in the road space. I think, I'm a lot more relaxed and happy vibes in the road space, especially in the domestic scene. Whereas in the track scene, I'm like, headphones on, I'm warming up, and then everyone's not my friend. Like I'm coming into this bunch race. Whereas like on the road space, like, I can switch on when I need to, like more in the deciding factors of the race. And I'm trying to be a lot more of a balanced, composed person to come to for the girls to show that patience, I guess. And I don't know, it's just different.
Yeah, nice. Good answer. So then Pro Velo's finished up a couple of weeks ago and then Track Nationals was good. And then moving forward from now, you're in off season now back home. And what are you doing moving forward?
I'm still studying, so trying to finish off my first trimester, which is involving a placement at SASI, so back in Adelaide, and also doing a finance subject, which involves a lot of Excel, my favourite. So doing that. And also I'm about to go into a prep for more of a track focus now, kind of assuming I'm training for Commonwealth Games, which I'll find out in about 5 to 6 weeks' time. So fingers crossed. Looking forward into the year. Plan A is hopefully get selected for commies, go to commies, and then from there join Meridian and do maybe 6-week block in Belgium with them. And then that will take me into September, come back here, and then quickly prep for Track Worlds. And then, they'll go into my off season before I go into a crazy Aussie summer again and do all over again. So, that's plan A. Plan B, don't get selected for commies. I go do Meridian stuff for 3-4 months, depending what the world's doing. And then, come back home, put my name up for Track Worlds, and again, prep for Aussie summer. So, plan A, plan B.
Yeah, sure. Moving forward now, you're not going to be working with Nick. You'll be coached in-house with Oz Cycling with Ash, the track squad. Favourite and least favourite thing about working with Nick?
Well, also I'm right next to you.
Now you can be brutally honest, but now that moving forward from the end of this off season, once you resume training again, what are you going to miss most about getting coached by Nick, and what are you not going to miss getting coached by Nick?
Oh, I can't think of any cons.
Of course you can't.
Yeah. That's not what you said off air.
I think, yeah, he just brings a vibe of like getting after it, and I'm really going to miss that. I'm going to get emotional, but yeah, he literally
Have an Easter egg.
Yeah, emotional support. Yeah, he literally resurrected me, and yeah, I wouldn't be the hungry racer Alyssa I am today. So yeah, I have everything to thank you for.
No, it's been I'm trying to get emotional. No, it's been a real.
Cute.
It is real cute. No, it's been a real really, really enjoyable seeing you get back to where you are now. Really, really good. And whether I agree with what I was cycling have done or not. I mean, I understand why they make these decisions, whether I agree or not. It doesn't really matter. But like you are in good hands. Like you're with an exceptional coach. Like Ash is great. So it's not like there's any worry that you're not going to keep progressing. You will. And I'm not going to disappear.
No. You'll still be the same Nick kicking around,
Yeah.
complaining about Masters racing, and
Yeah.
giving advice that wasn't asked for. We will jump into sifting through a few of the listener questions from the What Matters Instagram. First one was, do you prefer track or road cycling if you had to pick one?
That's a very hard question.
And why?
I've never been able to answer it.
Well,
'cause-
you're going to have to. This podcast is going to make a lot
We'll be here for a while.
Well, they're just so different. I've got so many different goals and ambitions in both. But I think maybe track more so at the moment, just because, yeah, I just feel this hunger right now. And I've tried to bring it into our squad where I just don't want any more complacency anymore. And I just want that gold so bad. I want those rainbow stripes so bad. So, yeah, I think that. And just like being able to work with that team's pursuit squad, even a Madison team, you just don't get that in road cycling. Like, I guess you work as a team to achieve a result with your lead rider. Like, that's a whole team aspect in that sense. But in the track sense, when you're working in that team environment, in the team's pursuit squad, like, you're all going full and having to like coordinate like technique and trust on the wheel and error and everything, and like being able to pull off a golden ride, that would be so epic. So yeah, definitely track right now.
Yeah, very cool answer. And we're going to ask you was, why do you do cycling? Why, like, what's your why for cycling?
What's my why?
What makes you get up and want to train hard every day and perform at a high level instead of just doing uni?
Well, I have that racer in me, and that's how I fuel my racer. So yeah, just trying to continue to progress and find new limits within myself, mentally and physically. I think it's really rewarding process to be able to work with a coach and develop that sort of relationship and see the hard work you put as a team come to fruition in those races. That's pretty cool to see. That's what keeps me motivated to, keep that hard work.
Yeah. And you've said in the past as well, I remember you saying you find sport as a vessel for actually like enjoying like traveling and racing and scratching that competitive itch and that sort of thing. Do you think you'd be able to do that in another sport, or do you think it's just always been cycling and that's...
Well, when I was like younger, I was actually more of an arty kid. I was never a sporty kid, but I hated sport. Like primary school, absolutely hated sport. And then I was forced to do house cross country, and like I got third or something. I was like, oh, maybe I'm good at sport. So I don't know, maybe.
Third at house cross country.
Yeah.
Low third.
It's huge.
You didn't continue with
Honestly, from that point on, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a long distance runner. Like, this is my calling.
Delusional.
Yeah. So delusional. So yeah, maybe I'd do it in running. But then again, like you don't have that team camaraderie.
Yeah.
Which
The
I
problem with
love.
running is the running.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything else is great. It's the whole running.
Imagine me running, but I don't even have a long stride. So I think I'd be quite bad at it. And therefore I wouldn't win, and therefore I wouldn't want to keep doing it. So I don't think I could do it in any other.
Probably get third at the house.
Yeah. We'll take you down to a local school.
All you kids.
Very good. The last listener question that we wanted to give you was, what advice do you have for juniors that want to become a professional cyclist, Australian juniors?
Before you even think about being professional, you need to have fun and just keep it simple. I think reflecting in my own experience, I did lose a lot of the fun, and yeah, it took me a really long time to find that joy again. And you can definitely see the moment where I found that joy again. And yeah, do it for the enjoyment, the fun, keep it simple, don't get too serious, because life is so much more beyond sport. And yeah, I think you need to enjoy being a kid first before you lock in, and you'll know when you're ready to lock in. Don't let people decide that for you. Like, be your own person. And yeah, that's my advice.
Very good advice.
Good advice.
Absolutely fantastic advice. Awesome. Well, Alyssa, thank you very much for coming on the podcast and for creating the name of the podcast.
You're welcome.
Nick and Dylan, hopefully, we can actually get out a few more episodes.
Yeah, we're back 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we've said we're back for the last 4 episodes.
No, we are.
But we're actually, this time for realsies.
Yeah.
Very good. Awesome. Well, we will see you guys in the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.